Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So today we're going to my continuing series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, and I've got a bunch of new details on the Taki Udon MiSTer FPGA clone, some finalized pricing, the fact that the board's almost going to replication, and when you might be able to buy it, and the price you're going to pay. Because the clone scene is hot right now on MiSTer FPGA, a lot of people are interested in them, and I'll definitely do a review when they come out, but it seems like we're getting really close to getting able to order these things online. So we're going to go over all of the different details about this in this video, but before we get too far involved, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined to want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But these are the first photos that Taki Udon showed of the clone board, and we've gone through a lot of revisions from there, and this is definitely an exciting thing because there's already one clone on the market that seems to be giving some decent results, but we're waiting on this one as well. And you'll see here that these are the final prices. This was tweeted out just yesterday around 3 o'clock my time, and you can see that MiSTer plus the fan board, MiSTer with the fan board and 128 megabytes of SD RAM, as well as the MiSTer RAM, a power brick, a USB hub, and an analog I/O board are all indicated for the different pricing. So it seems like the most you're going to be spending is $160 on a fully kitted out MiSTer FPGA. Now we still need to do a bunch of compatibility tests, but it seems like, according to Taki at least, everything is compatible. But we're talking about a full MiSTer build for $160. That's every single board that you need minus a case to play MiSTer FPGA in your home. That definitely is cheaper than the current setup, but again, these boards are not made by Terasic, so there definitely will be some testing. I'm highly optimistic that everything works out exactly as stated, but basically everyone in the community that likes to test these things is going to go through and check everything out, and that definitely is good. You want to wait and see what people say about these boards, because $160, while cheaper than a MiSTer FPGA official build, is definitely still not a small amount of money. But the Terasic DE10 clone is going to be under $99, and that is basically, for lack of a better term, the brain of MiSTer FPGA. It has the Altera Cyclone V system on a chip, which has all of the FPGA along with an ARM core as well, and then you have all of the other accompanying hardware. There's also going to be USB hub boards available, as well as the 128 megabytes of RAM and the analog I/O. There's no information yet on if any of this will be sold separately, but honestly, with the changes on the FPGA board in and of itself, you really want to kind of buy the triple stack as a piece because it's intended to work together. These bundled items will be available for individual purchase. I'm not sure if that means all of them, but we can kind of assume it would be. But honestly, I don't know until a lot of testing goes on whether or not you want to mix and match these parts with a Terasic DE10 Nano. Obviously, RAM matches RAM, and that should be totally fine, but I feel like if you already have a Terasic DE10 Nano manufactured board, you already have a MiSTer built, and you're thinking about getting a second one. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me, are you looking to pick up this clone board because it's going to be your first MiSTer FPGA, or are you looking to pick up this clone board because you want one in another room? Obviously, I enjoy my MiSTer. I have 3, 1 for capture and 2 for testing, but of course, maybe you haven't gotten into the ecosystem yet, so it should be a fun time. So once these boards are in, I can definitely rig them up to a real Terasic DE10 Nano and see how they function. I can kind of mix and match parts and give you guys all of the different results of what happens. Because whether you're building an analog or a digital I/O with dual or single RAM, there definitely needs to be some testing done just to check and see how everything works. But it is going to be fun for more people to get into the MiSTer FPGA ecosystem. More users mean bigger audiences, means bigger cores, means maybe we'll get some more developers on board as well. Taki's also stated that if you miss the chance to buy a board during the first batch, there will be a second batch about a month after, and then the third batch will be a little bit longer than a month. And it's going to be sold through their company website, whatever company that may end up being, for the first batch, and then maybe expand out from there to stuff like AliExpress. Still no company name for this clone board manufacturing outfit, so we're kind of waiting on that to see who else might be involved in this overall effort, because it definitely is going to take a team to get this thing to market. And if you're wondering how many are going to be in the first batch, they're thinking about 2,000 each. So that I would assume that means 2,000 clone boards, 2,000 sticks of RAM, 2,000 I/O boards, and 2,000 USB hubs as well. So you could kind of basically make 2,000 full MiSTer FPGAs. And that will definitely be fun. I can't wait to test this thing. Taki's been the only one that's really shown off any footage of it working, and it's not in anybody else's hands right now. So it's really nothing you can speak to about the overall build, the quality, the compatibility, outside of what Taki has stated, that everything does work exactly as expected. So we're going to have to take him at his word until they go out. Additionally, people asked if there's going to be any sort of price increase between batches, and that was just a flat out no. So if you missed the first round, you really shouldn't see any price increases. I'm assuming people are asking that because Terasic has gone up in price over the intervening years since MiSTer has gotten popular by about $60 to $70. Somebody else, if there's any news on the handheld, they're still doing R&D on the flagship right now, so there really doesn't seem to be anything to announce on the handheld side of things. And if you haven't really been following along with all of the videos, it's looking to be around $150. Taki has shown different iterations of the overall design, not a full handheld, just kind of some close-up shots. So people are definitely still very interested to find out what this is, myself included, because as many MiSTer FPGAs as I have, not a single one has a battery and a screen on it that I can take in the car or on an airplane or on the subway to actually test out and just play around with. So that is definitely what I'm looking forward to seeing, but it seems like the goal was always to ship the clone board with the I/O and the hub at the start, and then kind of build these other consoles and handhelds along the way. So it seems like they're doing some more R&D on the flagship console, so that's what I'm really curious about as well. And people asked about the overall ETA of these things being manufactured, and Taki went ahead and answered that as well. The blank FPGA boards are in testing phase, and then they have to go to actually get populated from there, and he set out a separate tweet just about that as well. And if you're not sure what that means, I will break it down for you a little bit. The PCB, or the circuit board for the FPGA, would basically be this board without any of the components on it. They're going to test all of the routing, all of the traces, all of the continuity to make sure every single signal goes exactly where it needs to go. When that tests good, they will cut them down to size and ship them to another factory that'll put on all of the components on the actual PCB in and of itself. That is usually a pick and place machine. It is not done by human hands, it's done by robots, and the first step in manufacturing these things would check the blank PCB for all of the routing to make sure you're good. You do not want to miss a trace or misconnect anything incorrectly. Somebody also asked if all the PlayStation 1 and Nintendo 64 games are working, and he states all cores work, and I'm assuming that question is because Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1, and Sega Saturn push the MiSTer FPGA and the FPGA chip on the Terasic DE10 board harder than pretty much any other core. So people are thinking if this board did have some issues or some incompatibilities, it would probably show up in these 3D consoles. Taki has shown demos of games running on all of these cores, PlayStation 1, Saturn, and Nintendo 64, but it definitely would probably be everyone's first stop in testing. Honestly, for me, it would probably be the arcade side of things, 'cause that's what I love, but we'll have to wait and see. But really, there's no more news on the flagship, and that's what I'm the most curious about. Why there's an HDMI in and a VGA in on a MiSTer FPGA console. I'm still thinking potentially it's also going to function as some sort of retro scaler, but honestly, I'm just presuming, so don't take me at my word on that. I am just throwing a guess up into the air to see what sticks. But he mentioned it in his most recent round of updates, so there's still an R&D, so hopefully we hear more about that soon, because they've got the budget console, they've got the mainstream console, they've got the flagship console, they've got a MiSTer FPGA handheld, and they've also got all of the individual boards to build the triple stack MiSTer FPGA. So they have a lot of irons in the fire, but some of those irons now have official pricing, and hopefully by the end of August, beginning of September, some orders will go up. No idea if any early review units are going to go out. I've not been contacted, so I may just have to buy it with you guys and see. But you know, I'll buy each and every individual item here to test it and tell you the results. If you have any questions or comments, I'll leave them down below, but the clones are coming and they are priced. We're done here. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.